Consul Vex-Tar stood before the massive viewing screen in his office, watching the swirling colors of distant stars. His forearms moved nervously as he read the mining report for the third time. The numbers were incredible. The asteroid belt in the Forbidden Sol system contained more quantum crystals than any other known source in the galaxy. The door chimed, and his assistant entered. "Sir, the council meeting starts in 10 minutes. Vex-Tar's mandibles clicked together in annoyance. "Tell them I'll be there shortly." He knew what the council would say. The same thing they always said when anyone mentioned the Sol system. "Don't go there. Don't even think about it. The humans sleep and sleeping humans should stay that way." It was an old rule, older than most civilizations in the galaxy, but Vex-Tar had studied the records. The humans had been silent for 500 years. Their ships hadn't been seen outside their system for centuries. Most likely, they were extinct. Even if they weren't, how dangerous could one small planet be against the entire galactic confederation? The mining report showed deposits worth more than his entire sector's yearly budget. With those crystals, he could fund expansion projects, upgrade his fleet, and maybe even challenge for a higher position in the Confederation. The opportunity was too good to ignore. The council chamber buzzed with conversation as representatives from dozens of species discussed trade routes and border disputes. Vex-Tar took his seat and waited for the right moment. When the discussion turned to resource allocation, he stood. "Fellow councilors, I have a proposal that could solve our crystal shortage. Elder Thrain, an ancient Vorthak whose species remembered the old days, turned his massive head toward Vex-Tar. "Speak your proposal, Consul." The Sol system contains the largest quantum crystal deposits ever discovered. A small mining operation could... The chamber erupted. Voices rose in dozens of languages, all saying the same thing. Impossible. Forbidden. Dangerous. Elder Thrain's voice cut through the noise like a blade. "The Sol system is forbidden for good reason, young Consul. The humans may sleep, but they are not gone." "Respectfully, Elder, that's superstition," Vex-Tar said, his voice steady despite the hostile stares around him. "The humans haven't been active for 5 centuries. If they still exist, they're clearly no threat to anyone." "You didn't see them at their peak," Elder Thrain said slowly. "You didn't watch their ships tear through battle fleets like they were made of paper. You didn't see entire star systems surrender rather than face human weapons." "That was 500 years ago," Vex-Tar argued. "Technology has advanced. We have shields they never faced, weapons they never encountered. Even if some humans remain, what could one planet do against thousands of worlds?" The debate continued for hours. Some supported Vex-Tar's proposal, mostly younger representatives who saw the potential profit. Others, particularly the elder species, firmly opposed any contact with the Sol system. The vote was close, but the elders' influence carried the day. The proposal was rejected. Vex-Tar left the chamber angry but not defeated. Official channels had failed, but there were other ways to get things done. His personal mining fleet was large enough for the operation, and he had contacts who could provide additional ships without asking too many questions. Within a week, Vex-Tar had assembled a fleet of 30 mining vessels and a dozen security ships. He chose crews from species that had no memory of human conflicts, young races that saw the prohibition as an old custom rather than a vital safety measure. "Sir, are you certain about this?" asked Captain Klethan, his security chief. The council was very clear about their position. "The council is overcautious," Vex-Tar replied. "We're miners, not invaders. We'll take what we need from the asteroid belt and leave. If there are any humans left, they'll never even know we were there." The fleet departed quietly, using civilian shipping routes to avoid attention. The journey to Sol took 2 weeks, and with each passing day, Vex-Tar grew more confident in his decision. The space around them remained empty and peaceful. No alien ships challenged their passage. No warnings came from hidden sensors. When they finally reached the Sol system, Vextar felt vindicated. The system looked dead. The third planet showed signs of an atmosphere and oceans, but no energy signatures, no radio transmissions, no space traffic. A few ancient satellites drifted in orbit, but they appeared inactive. "Take us to the asteroid belt," Vextar ordered. "Begin mining operations immediately." The fleet moved deeper into the system. The asteroids were rich beyond their wildest estimates. Some contained crystal formations so pure they seemed to glow with their own light. The miners set up their equipment and began extraction. For 3 days, everything went perfectly. Mining proceeded faster than expected, and the crystal quality exceeded all projections. Vextar began planning how to transport the massive haul back to Confederation space. On the 4th day, things changed. Captain Klethan contacted Vextar from the mining site on Ceres. "Sir, we're detecting some unusual activity." "What kind of activity?" "Those old satellites around the third planet. They're moving, not drifting, actively repositioning themselves. And we're picking up energy signatures from what we thought were dead space stations." Vextar frowned at his display screen. The readings showed minimal activity, nothing that suggested immediate danger. "Probably just automated systems responding to our presence. Ancient technology trying to function after centuries of neglect." "Should we investigate?" "No. Continue mining. If the activity increases, we'll reassess." But the activity did increase. Over the next day, more satellites came online. Derelict ships that had been floating dead in space for centuries suddenly showed power signatures. Deep space monitoring. Stations that hadn't transmitted in 500 years began sending coded signals toward the third planet. Most disturbing of all, seismic sensors detected movement deep beneath the surface of Earth itself. Something was stirring in the planet's core. Something big enough to register on instruments designed to monitor asteroid mining operations. "Sir," Klethan's voice was tense when he called again. "I think we should consider withdrawing. This doesn't feel like random system activation." Vextar studied the reports. The activity was clearly coordinated, but it remained minimal. No ships had launched from Earth. No weapons had powered up. No communications had been directed at his fleet. Whatever was happening, it seemed contained to the inner system. "We continue mining," he decided. "Double the shifts. I want our cargo holds filled within the week." As his fleet worked frantically to extract as many crystals as possible, Vextar told himself that the growing activity around Earth was nothing to worry about. The humans were gone, or at least harmless. The ancient warnings were just stories told by overcautious elders. Deep beneath Earth's surface, in chambers carved from solid rock and lined with crystalline technology, the first humans in 5 centuries opened their eyes. Hibernation pods that had maintained perfect stasis for longer than some galactic civilizations had existed began their revival sequences. The automated systems that had watched the galaxy for centuries sent their reports to the awakening minds. An unauthorized fleet was mining their asteroid belt. The ancient treaty that had kept the galaxy peaceful for 500 years had been broken. Dr. Sarah Chen was among the first to fully awaken. As the hibernation drugs cleared from her system, she reviewed the situation through her neural interface. The mining fleet was small, probably unauthorized. Most of the galaxy likely had no idea it was happening. But it was happening, and that changed everything. The universe had one rule: don't wake the humans. Someone had broken it. Dr. Sarah Chen felt the familiar sensation of gravity returning as the hibernation chamber completed its revival cycle. Her body ached in ways that reminded her of the old days before the Great Sleep. 500 years was a long time, even, with perfect stasis technology. She sat up slowly, her enhanced muscles responding better than purely biological ones would have after such a long period. The chamber around her was exactly as she remembered: white walls embedded with monitoring crystals, soft blue lighting, and the gentle hum of fusion reactors buried even deeper in Earth's core. "Status report," she said aloud, knowing the AI would respond immediately. "Good morning, Dr. Chen. Current date is March 15th, 2847, Terran Standard. You have been in hibernation for 523 years, 7 months and 12 days. Unauthorized alien presence detected in Sol system. Revival protocols initiated." Sarah stood and walked to the wall display. Her reflection showed the same face she'd had before: hibernation, though her eyes carried the weight of memories from humanity's last active period. The genetic and cybernetic enhancements her generation had received were designed to last millennia, not mere centuries. "Show me the intruders." The wall became transparent, displaying real-time feeds from the automated monitoring network. Dozens of alien ships moved through the asteroid belt, their hulls unfamiliar but their purpose clear. Mining vessels protected by military escorts. Species identification: mixed fleet. Hegemony Council vessels, some independent contractors. Approximately 42 ships total. Current mining rate suggests they plan to establish permanent operations. Sarah activated her neural interface, connecting directly to the global network that had watched and waited for centuries. Information flowed through her consciousness. Population reports, technology assessments, political analyses of the galaxy that had grown around them while they slept. The news was both better and worse than the worst-case scenarios they'd planned. 4. Better because the galaxy had achieved unprecedented peace and stability. Worse because that peace existed specifically because everyone was afraid to wake the humans. How many of us are reviving? Initial awakening involves 10,000 individuals across all specializations. Full population can be awakened within 72 hours if necessary. Sarah nodded. The awakening protocols were designed to be gradual unless Earth faced immediate threat. 10,000 humans included enough military specialists, scientists, and leaders to assess the situation and decide on appropriate response. She dressed quickly in the uniform that had waited for her, black fabric that looked simple but incorporated. Technology beyond most species' understanding. The material could stop energy weapons, regulate temperature in vacuum, and interface directly with any human computer system. The corridors she walked through stretched for kilometers beneath the Earth's surface. The humans had spent decades before hibernation preparing these facilities. Not bunkers built for war, but cities built for waiting. They had known that someday, someone would test the galaxy's most important rule. In the central command chamber, other awakening humans gathered around holographic displays showing the alien fleet. Captain Marcus Rivera stood near the tactical station, his cybernetic eye analyzing ship configurations and weapon placements. Dr. Amanda Foster reviewed biological scans of the alien crews. Commander David Park coordinated with automated defenses throughout the system. "Recommendations?" Sarah asked. As senior administrator for the awakening protocols, she had authority over humanity's return to active status. "They're miners, not invaders," Marcus said. "Small fleet, mostly civilian ships. But they're armed, and they're ignoring every warning signal we've sent through the automated systems. Have we attempted communication?" "Not directly. The automated systems have been sending standard warnings in 847 galactic languages. They're either ignoring them or don't recognize them as warnings." Amanda looked up from her biological analysis. "The crew members we've scanned are from younger species, races that evolved after we went into hibernation. They might not even know what humans are." "Someone knows," David said grimly. "This fleet didn't just stumble into our system by accident. They knew exactly where to find the crystal deposits, and they came prepared for mining operations." Sarah studied the tactical displays. The alien fleet had positioned itself efficiently throughout the asteroid belt, with security ships guarding the most productive mining sites. Their formation suggested professional planning, not a random prospecting mission. "Have we identified the commanding authority?" "Working on it," Marcus replied. Communications analysis suggests the fleet reports to someone called Consul Vextar of the Hegemony Council. Our intelligence files have limited information on current Confederation politics, but the Hegemony Council appears to be a major power block. So this is either an official Confederation operation or someone is acting without authorization. Given the secrecy of their arrival and the fact that they're operating in forbidden space, I'd guess unauthorized, Amanda said. Sarah considered their options. The simple solution would be to activate the defense systems and destroy the fleet. Humanity's automated weapons had been maintained and upgraded by AI systems throughout the hibernation period. The alien ships wouldn't stand a chance. But destroying them would send a signal to the entire galaxy that humans were awake and aggressive. It might trigger the exact kind of galactic war that hibernation had been designed to prevent. Options for non-lethal resolution? We could disable their ships and force them to leave, Marcus suggested. Demonstrate capability without causing casualties. Or we could capture some of them for interrogation, David added. Find out exactly who sent them and why. Both approaches risk revealing our active status, Sarah pointed out. Ma'am, our active status is already compromised, Marcus said. The automated systems have been powering up for days. Anyone with decent sensors can tell this system isn't as dead as it appeared. Sarah walked to the main display, watching the alien miners work. They moved efficiently, harvesting crystals that had taken millions of years to form. The crystals themselves weren't particularly valuable to humanity. Their technology had moved beyond such crude power sources centuries ago, but the principle mattered. How long until full awakening is complete? If we initiate full revival now, we'll have the entire population active within 3 days, David reported. And how long until those miners strip the asteroid belt? At their current rate, several months for significant extraction, Amanda calculated. Then we have time to handle this carefully. Sarah turned back to the tactical station. Marcus, prepare a stealth reconnaissance mission. I want detailed intelligence on these ships and their crews. Amanda, analyze their technology. Find weaknesses we can exploit if necessary. David, continue monitoring galactic communications. I want to know the moment anyone notices unusual activity in this system. And the mining operation? Let them continue for now, but prepare contingencies. If they escalate, or if this turns out to be the beginning of a larger incursion, we'll respond appropriately. As her team dispersed to their tasks, Sarah remained at the central display. 500 years of peace had been built on the galaxy's fear of awakening humanity. That fear had been justified. The humans of the pre-hibernation era had been formidable warriors, capable of devastating any opposition. But the humans awakening now were not the same as those who had gone to sleep. 5 centuries of planning and preparation had given them advantages their ancestors could never have imagined. They had studied every species in the galaxy, analyzed every technology, prepared for every possible scenario. The miners in the asteroid belt thought they were dealing with a dead system defended by ancient automated weapons. They had no idea. They had awakened something far more dangerous than their worst nightmares. Sarah opened a communication channel to the global network. This is Administrator Chen, to all awakening personnel. We are now at Condition Yellow. Unknown alien presence in system. Prepare for possible escalation to active protocols. Across the Earth, in chambers buried beneath every continent, 10,000 humans received the message. The first to wake in 5 centuries, they were humanity's best and brightest, selected for their ability to handle exactly this situation. The galaxy was about to remember why it had spent 500 years being very, very careful not to wake the humans. Captain Marcus Rivera moved through the maintenance tunnel of the stealth ship with practiced silence. The vessel was smaller than a civilian transport, but packed with more advanced technology than most species' flagships. Human engineering had always favored efficiency over size. Approaching the target mining platform, his pilot whispered through the comm system. No indication they've detected us. Marcus checked his equipment one final time. The reconnaissance mission was simple in theory. Get close to the alien fleet, observe their operations, and if possible, capture a few individuals for questioning. In practice, it would be the first direct contact between humans and aliens in over 500 years. Through the ship's sensors, he watched the mining platform attached to a large asteroid. The structure was impressive for civilian construction, multiple drilling sites, processing facilities, and storage areas all connected by enclosed walkways. Security appeared minimal, suggesting the aliens felt safe in what they believed was empty space. 3 guards visible on the outer platforms, Marcus reported to his team. Standard energy weapons, light armor, no sign of enhanced biology or cybernetics. His team consisted of 4 specialists, each enhanced for different aspects of the mission. Dr. Lisa Park would handle any alien biology they encountered. Sergeant Tom Anderson provided military backup. Tech specialist Maria Santos would analyze their technology. Marcus himself had cybernetic enhancements that allowed him to interface with most electronic systems. Docking in 60 seconds, the pilot announced. Remember, we want prisoners, not bodies. The stealth ship attached itself to the mining platform's hull with barely a whisper of contact. Marcus led his team through the airlock, their suits automatically adjusting to the platform's atmosphere. The artificial gravity was lighter than Earth normal, but their enhanced physiology adapted quickly. The corridors of the platform were wider than human ships would require, designed for species taller and broader than baseline humans. The walls showed the practical, undecorated style of industrial construction. Air recycling systems hummed quietly, processing an atmosphere that would have been toxic to unenhanced humans. 2 technicians ahead, Maria whispered, pointing to her scanner readings. They're alone in what looks like a control room. Marcus nodded and moved forward. The door was unlocked, another sign that the aliens felt completely safe. He slipped, inside with Tom close behind, their movement silent despite the heavier gravity. The 2 technicians were absorbed in their work, monitoring drilling operations on multiple screens. They appeared to be from different species, one tall and thin with 4 arms, the other shorter and more heavily built with thick scaled skin. Marcus struck quickly, using a neural disruptor to render both aliens unconscious without permanent harm. Tom secured them while Maria began downloading data from their computer systems. Interesting, Maria muttered, as information flowed through her cybernetic interface. Their technology is more advanced than our pre-hibernation records suggested, but it's focused on completely different areas than ours. Explain, Marcus said while Lisa examined the unconscious aliens. They've made huge advances in manufacturing, resource processing, and life support systems, but their military technology is centuries behind what we had before hibernation. They've clearly prioritized peaceful applications. Lisa looked up from her scans. Both subjects are healthy and unenhanced, purely biological life forms. Their brain structures suggest intelligence levels comparable to baseline humans. No obvious genetic modifications or cybernetic implants. Can we communicate with them? Their species are in our linguistic databases. The 4-armed one is a hegemony species. The other is from the Outer Rim Collective. Both civilizations are listed as peaceful in our intelligence files. Marcus considered their options. They had the prisoners and the data they came for, but something felt wrong about the situation. Maria, any sign that this operation is official? Confederation policy? Actually, no. The communications I'm intercepting suggest this is unauthorized. Multiple references to keeping the operation secret from the Council and someone called Elder Thrain. So this is a rogue operation? Appears to be, funded privately, crew recruited from species with no historical knowledge of human conflicts. Marcus activated his comm system. Administrator Chen, this is Recon Team 1. We have prisoners and intelligence. Request permission to proceed with enhanced interrogation. Sarah's voice came back immediately. Approved. What's your assessment? This looks like a private operation. not an official Confederation action. The crew consists of younger species that may not even know what humans are. Understood. Proceed with questioning, but be prepared for immediate extraction if the situation changes. Marcus turned to Lisa. Wake them up. Let's find out what they know. The tall, four-armed alien, a Vectari according to their records, regained consciousness first. His large eyes focused on Marcus with obvious confusion and growing fear. You're human, the alien whispered in Galactic Standard. You know what humans are? Marcus asked, surprised. Stories, legends, but humans disappeared centuries ago. You're supposed to be extinct. Marcus exchanged glances with his team. We're very much alive. What are you doing in our system? Your system? The alien's voice rose in pitch. Sol is forbidden space. No one comes here. No one is supposed to be here. Yet here you are. The shorter alien, a Corvin, stirred and opened his eyes. When he saw Marcus, he immediately began backing away despite being restrained. Please, the Corvin said. We're just miners. We didn't know anyone lived here. Consul Vextar said the system was empty. Who is Consul Vextar? Hegemony Council member, the Vectari answered. He organized this expedition, promised us huge bonuses for working in the Forbidden Zone. Did he tell you why it was forbidden? Both aliens exchanged looks. The Vectari spoke carefully. Old stories say humans lived here once, warriors who could destroy entire fleets. But that was hundreds of years ago. Everyone knows humans disappeared. Marcus felt a chill. What exactly do the stories say about humans? That they were... The Vectari searched for words. Unstoppable. Their technology was beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. They could make stars go dark, planets disappear. When they went silent, the galaxy celebrated. 500 years of peace, because no one was foolish enough to wake the sleeping giants. And Consul Vextar thought we were extinct? He said the stories were exaggerated, that even if humans survived, they were just one planet against thousands of worlds. Marcus activated his comm again. Administrator Chen, you need to hear this. He relayed the conversation while the aliens listened, in growing horror. The galaxy had indeed spent 5 centuries in relative peace, specifically because everyone remembered humanity's military capabilities. The mining operation wasn't an act of war, it was the result of one individual's greed overriding centuries, of collective wisdom. This changes things, Sarah's voice came through the comm. If the galaxy believes we're extinct, our response needs to be carefully calculated. Recommendations? Continue the interrogation. Find out everything you can about current galactic politics and military capabilities. And Marcus, ask them what happens if other species discover humans are active again. Marcus turned back to the prisoners. If word gets out that humans are awake, what would the galaxy do? The Vectari's mandibles clicked nervously. Panic. Some species would try to appease you. Others would unite against you, but most would just be terrified. The peace we've had for 5 centuries exists because everyone believes you're gone. And if we're not gone, then everything changes, the Corvin said quietly. The galaxy isn't prepared for active humans. We've built our civilizations on the assumption that the greatest military threat in galactic history was no longer a factor. Marcus realized the full scope of the problem they faced. Humanity's reputation had grown beyond their actual historical capabilities into something approaching mythological status. The galaxy's reaction to discovering humans were active again could range from worship to preemptive military strikes. Either way, the age of hiding was over. The only question now was how to manage humanity's return to galactic politics without triggering the very wars that hibernation had been designed to prevent. Administrator Chen, Marcus said, I think we need to accelerate the awakening protocols. When this news gets out, and it will get out, We need to be ready for whatever comes next." Through the comm system, he could hear alarms beginning to sound in the alien mining fleet. Someone had discovered the unconscious guards, and the miners were starting to realize their supposedly dead system was very much alive. Consul Vextar stared at the emergency report with growing disbelief. 2 of his miners had vanished from a secure platform, and the security team sent to investigate had found traces of technology they couldn't identify. Advanced stealth systems, neural disruptors, and worst of all, genetic material that matched no known species in the galactic database. "Sir, we should withdraw immediately," Captain Klethan urged from the communication screen. "Whatever took our people isn't human. It can't be human, but it's something we're not equipped to handle." "Absolutely not," Vextar snapped. "We've invested too much in this operation to abandon it because of some unknown scavengers. Double the security details and continue mining." But even as he gave the order, Vextar felt fear growing in his chest. The activity around Earth had increased dramatically in the past day. Dozens of ancient satellites had come online. Space stations thought dead for centuries were broadcasting coded signals, and deep space sensors were detecting massive power signatures from beneath the planet's surface. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "we're intercepting communications in a language that matches the old human databases. It's definitely human, but the content is encrypted beyond our ability to decode." Vextar's mandibles clicked nervously. The evidence was mounting that humans were not only alive but actively responding to the mining operation, yet he couldn't bring himself to believe it. One planet against the galaxy? It was impossible. "Contact the Hegemony Council," he decided. "Request immediate military support. Tell them we've encountered unknown hostile forces and need a full battle fleet." "Sir, that will expose the entire operation. The Council will want to know why we're in Sol's system. Then we'll tell them we discovered human survivors and acted to protect Confederation interests." Within hours, Vextar's emergency transmission reached the Hegemony Council. The response was swift and massive. Battle fleets from 3 different sectors began moving toward Sol, their commanders believing they were responding to a genuine crisis. No one stopped to question why Vextar had been in forbidden space in the first place. Admiral Korthan of the Hegemony First Fleet reviewed the tactical data as his ships approached the Sol system. 50 vessels under his command, including 3 dreadnoughts and advanced shield technology. If humans had somehow survived, his fleet would be more than capable of handling one primitive planet. "Admiral, we're detecting significant activity in the inner system," his sensor officer reported. "Multiple power signatures, active communications, and—" "Sir, there are ships moving in the asteroid belt." "Human ships? Unknown configuration. They don't match any vessels in our databases, but they're clearly advanced. Stealth technology superior to our own." Admiral Korthan felt the first stirrings of doubt. "How many ships?" "Difficult to say exactly. Our sensors are being jammed, but we estimate at least 20 vessels, possibly more." From the bridge of the human stealth ship Retribution, Captain Marcus Rivera watched the alien fleet approach with grim satisfaction. After the interrogation of the miners, humanity had abandoned any pretense of remaining hidden. The full awakening. Protocols were now active, and Earth's military was preparing for the confrontation that had been inevitable since the first alien ship entered their system. "Enemy fleet composition confirmed," his tactical officer reported. 50 ships including 3 capital vessels. Technology assessment indicates shields and weapons roughly equivalent to our pre-hibernation era military. "And they have no idea what they're facing," Marcus replied. The human fleet that rose to meet them consisted of only 12 ships, but each vessel incorporated 5 centuries of technological advancement, hulls that could phase in and out of normal space, weapons that could tear through any known shielding, and AI systems that could process tactical information faster than biological minds could comprehend. "Sir, the enemy fleet is broadcasting a message." Admiral Korthan's image appeared on the main screen. his reptilian features stern with authority. "Unknown vessels, you are operating in violation of Galactic Confederation law. Surrender immediately, and prepare to be boarded." Marcus almost smiled. "Open a channel." When the connection established, Marcus could see the shock on the alien admiral's face. "I am Captain Marcus Rivera of the Terran Defense Force. You are trespassing in human space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." "Impossible," Admiral Corthan whispered. "Humans are extinct." "Clearly not. You have 1 hour to begin withdrawal from our system. Any vessels remaining after that deadline will be destroyed. You're outnumbered more than 4-1. Surrender now, and we'll consider mercy." Marcus cut the communication and turned to his weapons officer. "Time to remind the galaxy why they spent 500 years being afraid of us." The battle began when Admiral Corthan, unable to believe that 12 ships could threaten his fleet, ordered a full attack. His vessels opened fire with everything they had: particle beams, quantum torpedoes, and fusion missiles that could level continents. None of it touched the human ships. The Terran vessels phased through the incoming weapons fire as if it didn't exist, their hulls shifting between dimensions to avoid damage. When they returned fire, the alien fleet discovered that their shields were completely useless against human weapons. The first alien dreadnought died in minutes, its hull torn apart by weapons that ignored conventional defense systems. The second lasted only slightly longer before a human ship appeared inside its shield perimeter and fired point-blank into its reactor core. Admiral Corthan watched his fleet being systematically destroyed with growing horror. His ships couldn't hit the enemy vessels, and when they could establish target locks, their weapons had no effect. Meanwhile, human ships moved through his formation like predators among prey, destroying anything they chose with clinical precision. "All ships, full retreat," he broadcast. "Emergency withdrawal." But retreat wasn't possible. The human ships had positioned themselves to cut off escape routes, and their superior speed meant they could run down any vessel that tried to flee. In less than 2 hours, the pride of the hegemony fleet was reduced to drifting wreckage and emergency beacons. Marcus allowed exactly 3 ships to escape, enough to carry word of the battle back to the galaxy, but not enough to constitute a functional military unit. The message needed to be clear. Humanity was back, and they were not to be trifled with. On Earth, Administrator Sarah Chen watched the battle reports with mixed emotions. The tactical victory was complete, but the strategic implications were massive. Within days, every government in the galaxy would know that humans were not only alive, but possessed military technology beyond anything they could match. "Ma'am, we're receiving communications from across the galaxy," her communications officer reported. "Panic broadcasts, emergency government sessions, and military mobilizations. Some species are preparing for war, others are trying to send diplomatic messages." Sarah nodded. The galaxy's reaction was exactly what they had predicted: fear, confusion, and the potential for massive conflict as different factions tried to decide how to respond to humanity's return. "Any word from the Galactic Confederation Council?" "Elder Thrain has requested immediate communication. The message is marked as highest priority diplomatic contact." Sarah considered her options. The moment she responded to galactic communications, humanity would officially be back in galactic politics. There would be no more hiding, no more peaceful isolation. Whatever came next would determine whether the galaxy entered a new age of cooperation or the most devastating war in its history. "Open the channel," she decided. "Let's find out if anyone learned anything from the last 500 years. The image that appeared on her screen showed an ancient Vorthak whose scales bore the scars of conflicts older than some civilizations. Elder Thrain's massive eyes held a mixture of fear and weary recognition. "Administrator Chen, I presume?" "Elder Thrain, I believe we need to talk." "Indeed we do. The galaxy has many questions about humanity's return. and humanity has questions about why our hibernation was disturbed by unauthorized mining operations. The Elder's mandibles clicked in what might have been approval. Perhaps we can find answers that benefit everyone. The alternative is a war no one can win. Sarah nodded grimly. The galaxy was about to discover whether 500 years of peace had taught anyone wisdom, or if they would repeat the mistakes that had driven humanity into hibernation in the first place. The Galactic Confederation Assembly had never seen anything like it. Representatives from over 3,000 species packed the massive chamber, their voices creating a cacophony of fear, anger, and desperate planning. The destruction of Admiral Corthan's fleet had sent shockwaves across the galaxy, and every government was scrambling to decide how to respond to humanity's return. Elder Thrain stood at the center of the assembly, his ancient voice somehow cutting through the chaos. "Order! We will have order in this chamber!" Slowly, the noise died down as representatives took their seats. The massive viewing screen showed the Sol system, where human ships now patrolled openly, their advanced hulls gleaming, with technology no other species possessed. "The situation is unprecedented," Elder Thrain continued. "For the first time in 5 centuries, humanity is active in galactic affairs. We must decide how to proceed." Ambassador Elena Vasquez materialized as a hologram at the center of the chamber. Her appearance caused a new wave of murmurs. Many of the younger species had never seen a human before, and her presence made the legends suddenly, terrifyingly real. "Honored representatives," Elena began, her voice calm and controlled, "I come before you not as a conqueror, but as someone seeking to prevent the very war my species went into hibernation to avoid." "You destroyed an entire fleet," shouted Representative Kexvar of the Outer Rim Coalition. "How is that preventing war?" "That fleet attacked us," Elena replied simply. "We defended ourselves. Would you have done differently?" Elder Thrain raised a massive claw for silence. "Ambassador Vasquez, the galaxy has many questions about humanity's intentions. Your species' military capabilities are concerning." Elena nodded. "We understand your concerns, but let me be clear about the situation. Consul Vextar violated the ancient treaty by entering our system without permission. His actions, not ours, broke the peace that has existed for 5 centuries. The chamber erupted again as representatives realized the implications. If humanity could claim they were acting defensively, it would be much harder to justify a coordinated response against them." "Where is Consul Vextar?" demanded Representative Thyron of the Core Worlds Alliance. "Being held in custody pending investigation," Elder Thrain replied grimly. "His unauthorized operation has put the entire galaxy at risk." Elena stepped forward. "Humanity has no desire to return to the conflicts of the past. We withdrew from galactic politics specifically to allow the peace and prosperity you've achieved. However, we cannot ignore attempts to exploit our territory or threaten our people." "What do you want?" asked Representative Zara of the Peaceful Worlds Collective, her voice barely above a whisper. "Coexistence," Elena said. "We propose a new treaty that recognizes humanity's return to active status while maintaining the stability the galaxy has enjoyed. In exchange for guaranteed sovereignty over our territory and representation in galactic governance, we offer something the galaxy has never had before." "Which is?" Elena smiled, and several representatives instinctively moved back in their seats. "Protection. During our hibernation, our monitoring systems detected threats beyond this galaxy's borders, entities that make our pre-hibernation military capabilities look primitive by comparison. The galaxy will need defenders eventually, and we have spent 5 centuries preparing for that eventuality." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Elena continued, "We're not asking to rule the galaxy. We're offering to protect it, but protection requires trust, and trust requires that certain boundaries be respected." Elder Thrain studied the human ambassador carefully. "You speak of external threats. What kind of threats?" the kind that would unite every species in this chamber against a common enemy if they knew what was coming. We detected the first scout probes 3 decades ago. Full contact is inevitable within the next century. Representative HFY stood again. How do we know you're telling the truth? How do we know this isn't just another human manipulation? Elena's expression hardened. Because if we wanted to manipulate you, Representative, you would never know. It was happening. Our technology is 5 centuries beyond yours. If we wanted to conquer the galaxy, we would have done it already. Then why haven't you? Challenged Representative Thyron. Because conquest is temporary. Cooperation is permanent. We learned that lesson the hard way, which is why we chose hibernation over domination. Elena turned to address the entire assembly. The galaxy has 2 choices. We can work together to face the challenges ahead, or we can repeat the mistakes of the past. But understand this. Humanity will not go back into hibernation. We are here. We are active. And we will defend ourselves and our interests. The only question is whether we do it as allies or as something else entirely. Elder Thrain spoke into the silence that followed. The human ambassador speaks plainly. What are the specific terms of this proposed treaty? Elena activated a holographic display showing a detailed agreement. Human sovereignty over the Sol system and any colonies we establish. Representation on the Galactic Council proportional to our population. In exchange, we provide military protection against external threats and share certain non-military technologies that will benefit all species. Non-military technologies? Representative Zara asked. Medical advances, manufacturing, techniques, terraforming technology. Things that will improve life across the galaxy without upsetting the military balance. And if we refuse? Representative HFY demanded. Elena's smile returned, cold and calculating. Then you continue as you have for the past 5 centuries, except now you know that humanity is watching. And when the external threats arrive, you face them without our help. The debate continued for hours, but the outcome was inevitable. The galaxy had seen what human military technology could do to their best fleet. They had heard about threats from beyond their borders, and they remembered the stories of what had happened the last time anyone had tried to oppose humanity through force. The vote, when it finally came, was overwhelmingly in favor of the new treaty. Only a handful of species voted against it, mostly those who believed they could somehow match human military capabilities through unity and numbers. As the assembly dispersed, Elder Thrain approached Elena privately. I remember the last time humans were active in galactic politics. There was much destruction, much fear. The humans you knew then were young and aggressive, Elena replied. We have had 5 centuries to grow wiser. The galaxy has benefited from that wisdom through peace and prosperity. Now that peace faces new challenges and wisdom requires adaptation. And if these external threats you speak of prove to be as dangerous as you claim, Elena's expression grew serious. Then the galaxy will discover why we spent 5 centuries preparing instead of sleeping. The entities approaching this galaxy have destroyed civilizations far more advanced than anything you've encountered. When they arrive, you'll be grateful that someone remembered how to fight. On Earth, Administrator Sarah Chen watched the treaty signing through the global network. The agreement was imperfect, but it provided a framework for humanity's return to galactic civilization without triggering immediate warfare. Ma'am, her aide reported, the full population awakening is now complete. All hibernation chambers are active and integration protocols are underway. Sarah nodded. And our defense preparations? The external monitoring stations report no change in the approaching entity's timeline. We still have approximately 80 to 100 years before first contact. Then we have time to prepare the galaxy and to hope that a century of cooperation will be enough to face what's coming. In a detention facility on the hegemony homeworld, former Consul Vex Tar sat in his cell, contemplating the consequences of his greed. The mining operation that was supposed to make him wealthy and powerful had instead awakened the most dangerous military force in galactic history and fundamentally altered the balance of power across thousands of star systems. The irony wasn't lost on him. The universe had one simple rule: don't wake the humans. He had broken it, and now everyone would live with the consequences. But as reports reached him of the new treaty and humanity's promises of protection against external threats, Vextar began to wonder if perhaps, just perhaps, his mistake might end up saving the galaxy after all. Only time would tell whether humanity's return would bring salvation or destruction. But one thing was certain: the age of peaceful isolation was over, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The humans were awake, and they were here to stay.